A former Navy SEAL sniper is the latest U.S. veteran to speak out about how the Obama administration's policies are putting America and its armed forces at risk. Scott Taylor's new book is called Trust Betrayed: Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Selling Out of America's National Security, and he joins us now to talk about it. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Appreciate your time today. I'm holding in my copy of holding in my hand that is a copy of your book, Trust Betrayed. First of all, let's start out. How are the Obama administration's policies and actions putting special operations forces at risk?
Well, I would argue that it's not just special operations forces, but I would say American interests and American military in general. But I think that overall, the overarching policies, both national security as well as foreign policies, are based upon wishful thinking on how they'd like to see the world as opposed to what it is. When you look at across the world, you look at folks like Vladimir Putin, who, regardless of what you think about him, he's a realist and understands the way the world works, understands that it works on strength and power. And you see this president does not. You see lack of leadership in the White House. You've seen that in the past 6 or 7 years. And the fact that we don't take strong positions and we can't even say things like Islamic terrorism in public, then those things are harming our national security, they're harming our foreign policy, they're harming our military folks that are there, and I'm sure we're going to get into leaks and things like that are very specifically harming folks. Interesting.
Well, how has the administration damaged national security by leaking sensitive information? Elaborate on that for me.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I talk about my book a lot, which has a lot of media research, has a lot of scholarly research, and then personal anecdotal stories. And when you look at the 2012 re-election campaign, for example, when there was a huge leaking of national security secrets at the highest levels to the New York Times, who would then write a story to make the president look strong for re-election efforts, you really see policies that are put in place by this president, and also under Secretary Clinton as well, that are for their own personal political benefit as opposed to American interest. And when you have those high-level leaks from the highest levels of government, they hinder future operations and they put people's lives at risk that are actually conducting the operations.
Well, ISIS, a huge international threat, of course. What should the U.S. be doing about ISIS? There's been a lot of criticism. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's very important to say that we need to have a strategy, right? Not just something that deals with the polls or what you would like to do or throw in pinprick airstrikes there, which some of those are successful, of course, but anyone who understands military operations will tell you that airstrikes alone are not enough. But personally, we need to have a strategy that deals with them mentally, physically, as well as virtually. Look, we have, and I talk about virtually and combating the brand of ISIS, there's a reason why America has the biggest marketing industry of the whole world. I mean, you had folks wearing Michael Jordan T-shirts in the Congo, drinking Pepsi in Paraguay, dancing hip-hop in Haiti. We're very, very successful at that. That should be part of it. Physically and hard power-wise, if we're going to send folks in harm's way, then we have to go in all in, not with one hand tied behind their back, but literally beat the enemy into submission.
Okay. Well, there's been a lot of speculation as to why President Obama refuses to use the term Islamic extremism. You talked about that a little bit earlier in our interview. Why do you think that is the case?
I don't know if it's an ideological thing. I know that he's really tiptoed around not saying that this problem has anything to do with Islam and that we're not at war with Islam. And of course, we're not at war with Islam. But let's be clear. There is a cancer in Islam infecting Islam today. And we have to take strong positions. We need leadership. We need folks who are unabashedly American, who understand our greatness, who will look world leaders in the eye and tell them that, and are unafraid to say what the actual problem is. If you can't say what the actual problem is, how can you coalesce the forces to be able to deal with the problem?
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will address a joint session of Congress tomorrow, but President Obama refuses to meet with him. What do you think about that?
Quite frankly, I think it's a slap in the face to one of our biggest allies, and that's one of the things that I detail extensively in the book, where you have seen the alienation of our staunchest allies, like Israel, like Egypt, and then the cowardly accommodation of folks who seek to do us harm, like Iran, for example. I think that Bibi Netanyahu is someone who lives this every single day, who understands the threat in that part of the world. He's not sitting in an air-conditioned office like Susan Rice or someone like that in the White House, who really doesn't understand what's going on the ground. I think the American public needs to hear what's going on.
All right. Scott Taylor, the author of Trust Betrayed: Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Selling Out of America's National Security. Thanks so much for your time, and thank you for your service, too.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
God bless.
Yeah, you too as well.